Good morning everybody. Today we will be starting the session 3 of chapter 1, that is mechatronics, sensors and transducers. We have velocity sensor. Tacho generator is an example of a velocity generator. It is used to measure angular velocity. Coming to the construction as shown in the sketch, you can see a toothed wheel and a magnetic circuit as shown in the sketch. The toothed wheel is mounted on a shaft which is used to measure the angular motion. The magnetic circuit consists of a coil wound on a ferromagnetic material. So this is part of the construction. So as the wheel rotates, or the shaft, when the shaft starts rotating, the wheel rotates and the air gap between the toothed wheel and the magnetic core changes, as a result of which there is a flux change in the coil. So an alternating EMF is generated, which is the measure of angular motion. So pulse shaping signal conditioner is used to transform the output into number of pulses, which can be counted by a counter. Next, moving on to the force sensor. So strain gauge is being used as a force sensor. So as shown in the sketch above, there is a cylindrical tube to which, in the second sketch, there is a cylindrical tube to which strain gauges are attached. A load is applied, or the force is applied on the top collar of the cylinder in order to compress the strain gauge element. So as soon as these strain gauges are compressed, the electrical resistance will keep on changing. So generally strain gauges are used to measure forces up to 10 meganewtons. So it is used to, so strain gauges are generally used to measure the force. It works on the principle of change in electrical resistance. Whenever a mechanical element is subjected to either a force, compressive or a tensile force, the electrical resistance of the material will change. Next, we move on to the fluid pressure sensor. So the fluid pressure sensor is of a diaphragm type. A diaphragm is nothing but a thin circular plate which is used for measurement of both low as well as high pressure. So there are two types of diaphragms: flat plate diaphragm and corrugated diaphragms. Flat plates are used only for small deflection measurements, whereas corrugated diaphragms are used for large linear deflections. So coming to the construction of a diaphragm pressure gauge, a typical arrangement of a strain gauge on a diaphragm is shown in the sketch above. So from the bottom, a high pressure fluid is passed, as a result of which the diaphragm tends to get displaced. So this, as the diaphragm gets displaced, the strain gauges will change the resistances. So these strain gauges are in turn connected to a Wheatstone bridge configuration, as a result of which we can measure the amount of pressure the liquid has come through. Next we will see what is meant by piezoelectric transducers. So piezoelectric are nothing but crystals such as materials which are known as quartz. So a quartz crystal is taken and either a compressive or a tensile force is exerted over this, as a result of which, on the application of this force, the quartz material will tend to get stretched or compressed. If you apply a compressive force, it tends to get compressed. If you apply a tensile force, it tends to get extended or stretched. So during this process, the charge over the material will change and it will tend to redistribute. So one phase of the material will become positively charged, the other phase will become negatively charged. So the net charge, that we will call it as Q, is directly proportional to the amount X by which the charges have been displaced. So there is an equation given below, like Q is equal to Kx, where Q is the net charge, K is the constant, and X is the amount by which the charges have been displaced. So we can give Q is equal to Kx or Q is equal to Sf, where S is a constant termed the charge sensitivity. Next we'll move on to the liquid flow sensors. Turbine meter is an example of a liquid flow sensor. So here we will measure the rate of flow of liquid in a pipeline. So in order to measure the rate of flow of liquid in a pipeline, we need to have a multi-blade rotor. As shown in the sketch, there is a multi-blade rotor which is mounted centrally in the pipe along which the water or the flow is going to take place. So once the fluid flow starts, the rotor is going to start rotating. Accordingly, there is a magnetic pickup coil placed below which counts the number of magnetic pulses generated due to the distortion of the magnetic field by the rotor blades. So angular velocity will be proportional to the number of pulses and the fluid flow is proportional to the angular velocity. So by this we can measure the flow rate of liquid in a pipeline. Next we will move on to liquid level sensors. So we have shown, as per the sketch, this is a flow type liquid level meter which is a direct method of measurement. So it generally consists of a hollow float on the surface of the liquid. As you can see, a ball shaped thing over the liquid which is nothing but a hollow float. So this float is in turn connected to the slider of the potentiometer. So as the liquid level changes in the tank, the float moves downwards, or if there is a rise in liquid, the float will tend to move upward. Due to this, the slider of the potentiometer, as a result of this, the slider of the potentiometer will also tend to change its position. Due to the change in position, the output voltage will be changed. This voltage is then indicated by the indicator which is calibrated in terms of height of liquid. Coming to temperature sensors, we have two types: thermistors and bimetallic strips. First I will move on to the thermistors. So what are thermistors? They are nothing but non-metallic semiconductors which will behave as resistors with high negative temperature coefficient. So these thermistors are generally made up of metal oxides like chromium, cobalt, iron, manganese and nickel. So these thermistors will have negative temperature coefficient. That is, when temperature increases, the resistance will tend to decrease. That's why we will call it as negative temperature coefficient. The change in resistance is indicated by the indicator which is again calibrated in terms of temperature. So this change in resistance is given as RT is equal to K into E, where RT is the resistance at temperature T. Coming to the bimetallic strips, as you can see in the sketch, there is high expansivity material outside and low expansive material on the inner side. Also we have a soft iron at the bottom and a small magnet which is attached to the set temperature. So here it consists of two different metallic strips which are bonded together. As I told you, there is a high expansive material and a low expansive material. So these two are bonded together. So as soon as the material is being heated, the metals will have different coefficient of expansions. So once the heating starts, the strips will start to bend into curved strips. With the metal with higher coefficient of expansion on the outside, as a result of which the soft iron which is attached to the low expansive material will tend to come and touch the magnet. So once it touches the magnet, the electric circuit completes and it will tend to generate an alarm. So in this way, these bimetallic strips will help to protect the desired application from heating above the set value of the temperature. It is generally being used in geysers, which is used to cut off, or a thermostat is there which will cut off as soon as the set temperature is reached. So in geysers we will find this bimetallic strips being used. Next I will be coming on to the thermocouples. So thermocouples, as you all know, is nothing but joining of two or more dissimilar materials. Okay, when a junction of dissimilar materials is heated, it will produce an electric potential which is related to the temperature. So a thermocouple will have two dissimilar metals. So when it is heated, it will provide an electrical potential which is related to the temperature. So when one end of the two metals which are joined is heated, there is a current flow in the thermoelectric circuit. You can see that in the sketch above. Okay. Coming to the light sensors, these are devices which detect the presence of light when light falls on these sensors. That is, it converts the light signals into electrical signals, which is used to measure the intensity of the light. So light sensors are used to measure the intensity of lights. So here there are three types of light sensors, namely photodiodes, phototransistors and photoresistors. So let me move on to the first topic, that is photodiodes. As you can see in the sketch, there is a PN junction. It is basically a PN junction diode which is reverse biased. So when the light falls on this junction, there is a decrease in the resistance, but whereas the current will start rising in the circuit, and this change in the current will be calibrated in terms of intensity of the light. So photodiodes, here as the light falls, the current starts to rise, and intensity, as the current is being changed, it is calibrated in terms of intensity of light. Coming to the second topic, phototransistors. These are three terminal devices, that is emitter, base and current. You can see E, B and C. E is called as the emitter, B is called as the base and C is called as the collector. So you can see the light which is incident on the base, that is arrows being pointed towards B. So when the light falls on the base of the transistors, the collector current C, IC, is increased. This change in the collector current is used to measure the intensity of the light. As you can see in the sketch, there are three things, E, B and C. So when the light is incident on the base, so as soon as the light is incident on the base, the collector current tends to increase, as a result of which it is a measure of intensity of light. Coming to the third one, photoresistors. As you can see in the sketch, there is a resistance wire. So a light is incident on it. So when the intensity of light increases, the resistance will tend to decrease. Generally photoresistors are being used in automatic cameras. So as the intensity of light will increase, there is a decrease in resistance, as a result of which we will be getting the image on the automatic cameras. So there are further multiple choice questions, around 10 of them. So you can probably work on these slides. By looking into the slides, you can check on these multiple choice questions and try to answer them. Okay, thank you for your patience.